It started with a call. Downtown bar. 1:37 a.m. Disturbance reported. No weapons, possible injuries, suspects still on scene. Morgan Hayes gripped the steering wheel of her cruiser, the engine growling beneath her as she turned down the narrow alley flanking the bar. She hated these calls. Drunk idiots starting fights. Blood on tile floors. Broken noses. Screaming. Always screaming. But this one was different. There was no screaming when she walked in. Just silence. And 3 unconscious men laid out in a neat little row across the cracked linoleum, like someone had gently placed them there to nap off their mistakes. A woman stood in the center of the chaos, pale skin, long crimson hair that shimmered under the flickering overhead light, and a calm expression that made Morgan's cop instincts sit up and scream. "Stay where you are," Morgan said immediately, gun raised, her badge flashing under the lights. The woman blinked. Slowly. Then smiled. "Oh, I'm not going anywhere." "On the ground. Hands where I can see them." Such a commanding voice, the woman said, as if they were flirting at a wine bar and not standing over a trio of bodies. Morgan didn't hesitate. She advanced, keeping the gun steady. "Now." The woman tilted her head. "You're not afraid of me. I don't scare easily." The woman looked down at the unconscious men, then back at Morgan. "They tried to corner me. I disapproved. You hospitalized 3 men. That's assault. That's survival," she said smoothly. "You can call it what you like." Morgan holstered her weapon, pulled out the cuffs, and moved in fast. "Turn around. Hands behind your back." The woman laughed. Not loudly, not cruelly, but as if amused by the idea. "You're serious?" "Dead serious." "Even if I told you I could snap those cuffs like paper?" Morgan clicked them shut. "Then you're welcome to try." The woman turned her head, studying Morgan over her shoulder. Her eyes were strange. Too bright. Too still. Fascinating. "You have the right to remain silent," Morgan began, and as she recited the Miranda warning, the woman didn't resist. She simply let herself be walked out of the bar, hands cuffed, hair swaying, like she was headed to a gala instead of a holding cell. Processing her was a nightmare. No ID. No fingerprints in the system. No criminal record. When asked for her name, she simply smiled and said, "Talia Crimson." Morgan stared at her from across the interview room. "That's not real." "It's real to me," she purred. "You assaulted 3 men. I defended myself. Within human strength. They flew across the room. They were a lightweight. People don't do what you did." "You're right." She leaned forward, eyes glowing faintly in the dim light. "They don't." Morgan didn't flinch. "What are you?" "A vegetarian." "Try again." Talia smiled, baring perfect white teeth. And just behind them, a flash of fangs. Sharp. Precise. Not costume shop plastic. Not some bored goth girl's prosthetics. Real. "I think you already know." Morgan stared at her. "Vampires aren't real. And yet here I am. Real enough for your handcuffs." Morgan stood. "Enjoy your cell. We'll talk when your lawyer gets here." Talia leaned back, crossing one elegant leg over the other. "I won't be here long. Wanna bet?" Morgan left. She needed air. Needed space. Needed a second to process the fact that the woman she'd just arrested was either dangerously delusional or not human. By morning, Talia was gone. No one saw her leave. There was no footage. The cuffs were neatly placed on the desk, still locked. Morgan stared at them. What the hell? That should have been the end of it. One weird night. A glitch in the system. A hallucination. A dream. But then she saw her again. The next day. Standing outside her favorite coffee shop, sipping something dark from a porcelain cup. "Detective," Talia said sweetly. "You look tired. Not sleeping well. Are you stalking me?" "I prefer shadowing. Sounds less violent." "You disappeared from a locked cell. You never did file those charges, did you?" "That's not the point." "Then what is the point, Morgan?" She hated how her name sounded in Talia's mouth. Like a secret. Like a caress. The point is, I don't want to see you again. That's unfortunate, Talia said and smiled like sin. Because I haven't had this much fun in decades. Morgan turned to leave. But Talia's voice followed her. You'll need me soon. You'll see. That night, there was a murder. Downtown. Brutal. Ripped throat. Almost no blood left. The coroner looked pale. Looks like an animal attack, he muttered. But there's no animal that does this. Morgan stared at the body. And for the first time in a long time, she felt something she didn't recognize. Not confusion. Not disgust. Not even fear. Just one thought, over and over, echoing through her mind like a drumbeat. I need to find her. Not to arrest her. Not to stop her. But because somehow she already knew. Talia Crimson wasn't the killer. But she was the only one who could help catch the thing that was. Morgan stared at the second body like it might suddenly sit up and tell her what the hell was going on. It wouldn't. Of course not. The coroner was pale, his voice barely a whisper. Same MO as the first one. Torn throat. Practically drained. Like an animal? Morgan asked. No, he said. Worse. The victim had been found in an alley 2 blocks from the first murder. Same condition. Eyes wide. Bloodless. The kind of death that made experienced officers take a step back. Morgan didn't. She stepped closer. Crouched. Stared at the marks. 2 puncture wounds. Too clean for a blade. Too symmetrical for claws. Too precise to be anything human. She didn't want to think it. But she did. And her mind betrayed her with a name. Talia. She stood up, jaw clenched, chest tight. Morgan hadn't expected to see her again so soon. But there she was. Sitting on the edge of a fountain in the park across from the precinct. Reading. Or pretending to. Dressed in black leather. Hair in loose waves. Sunglasses perched lazily on the tip of her nose, even though the sky was overcast. You're stalking me, Morgan said without preamble. And you're welcome, Talia replied, not looking up. I'm flattered. This isn't a game. You say that, but your heartbeat tells a different story. Don't, Morgan snapped. Talia smiled, finally looking up. Touchy. There's been another body. Same as before. You know anything about it? Do I look like I've been hunting? I wouldn't know. I don't have a checklist for bloodsucking psychos. Talia said, leaning back. So aggressive. I like it. Enough. Morgan took a deep breath. I need answers. And I need entertainment. Perhaps we can help each other. You're seriously enjoying this? I've been alive for 3 centuries, detective. You try living that long and tell me you don't crave a little excitement. You think 2 dead bodies are exciting? No, Talia said, and her expression shifted, serious, just for a moment. But the thing that did it? That's not someone you can handle alone. Then help me. It came out before she could stop herself. Talia's eyes gleamed. Oh, now you're asking? Morgan stepped closer, ignoring the twist in her stomach when Talia stood up, all elegance and slow confidence. I'm asking for help, not company. I'm not your sidekick, Morgan. I'm the one with the teeth. Then use them. Or walk away. Talia tilted her head. Fine. I'll help. But on one condition. Of course there's a condition. You stop pretending you're not curious. About what? About me. Morgan rolled her eyes. You're not that interesting. But I could be. You're impossible. And you're intoxicating when you're irritated. Do you ever shut up? Talia grinned. Only when someone makes me. They walked together, something Morgan never thought she'd allow. Talia moved like a shadow. Silent, fluid, too graceful to be natural. She drew stares from passers-by, but none of them lingered. Talia had a way of making people uncomfortable without doing anything at all. You're serious about helping? Morgan asked. Why? Because something is killing in my city. Sloppily. Loudly. That draws attention. I don't like attention. So this is about self-preservation. Mostly. What's the rest? You. Morgan stopped walking. What about me? You intrigue me. Because I arrested you? Because you didn't flinch? Because you're brave? Because you're maddening? I'm not flattered. You don't need to be. You just need to stay alive. Morgan scowled. Do you know who, or what, we're dealing with? Talia looked ahead. Not yet. But I have a place we can start. The building was old, abandoned, smelled like dust and time. Talia led her down a stairwell that creaked under their feet. This used to be neutral ground, she said, back when the city had vampire courts. Vampire courts? Don't look so shocked. We're not animals. Not all of us. And now it's empty. But the smart ones leave messages here. Warnings. Territory disputes. Death notices. Morgan frowned. So, like supernatural graffiti? Exactly. Talia said with a smirk. You're catching on. They reached the basement. Faint symbols glowed on the far wall, painted in something dark, almost iridescent. Morgan's skin crawled. What does it say? Talia crouched, tracing one symbol with her finger. It's a name. Yours? No, she stood, eyes darkening. His. Who? His name is Calder. He's old. Dangerous. Lost control a long time ago. And now he's in my city. Not for long, Talia said, voice low. If he's feeding like this, he'll draw the elders. That's bad. It means death. For him. For anyone near him. Morgan's stomach turned. Can you stop him? Maybe. Not good enough. Then stay out of my way. Not happening. Talia turned to her. This isn't your fight. 2 bodies make it my fight. You'll get yourself killed. You think I haven't faced monsters before? Not like this. Morgan held her ground. You said I intrigued you. Prove it. Work with me. Talia stared at her for a long time, then nodded. One condition. Another one? I stay close. Very close. How close? Breathing your air close. Fantastic. You say that like you don't enjoy it. Morgan didn't answer. Because maybe, just maybe, she did. That night, Morgan returned to her apartment to find Talia already there. What the hell? How did you? You didn't change your locks. I just met you. And yet here we are. Morgan glared. You don't live here. Tonight I do. No, if Calder tracks you, he'll kill you. Unless I'm between you and him, you're a liability. I can protect myself. Not from him. Why would he come after me? Because you're helping me. And he hates me. Why? Talia's expression shifted, sharpened. Because I turned him. Silence. Morgan's mind reeled. He's your creation? Was. I tried to end him once. Failed. So this is personal. Everything is eventually. Morgan paced. I don't want a vampire roommate. Then consider me your shadow. I don't eat your food, I don't use your water, and I'll only bite if asked nicely. You're insufferable. And you're irresistible. Don't push me. I'm not pushing. I'm circling. Morgan groaned. I hate this. No, Talia said, leaning against the wall, arms crossed, gaze soft. You hate that you don't hate me. Morgan didn't respond. Because for the first time since the blood hit the pavement, she wasn't sure where the danger ended and where the thrill began. The night had a sharp edge to it. Not cold. Not stormy. Just heavy. Like the air itself knew something was about to go wrong. Morgan stood on her fire escape, arms folded across her chest, eyes scanning the street below. She didn't know what she was looking for. Footsteps. Shadows. Signs of Calder. Or maybe, secretly, signs that she was losing her mind. Because nothing about this felt normal anymore. Love what you've seen so far and want to help me keep creating these awesome stories on this channel? Then subscribe and hit the bell. Your subscription supports the channel and makes sure you get more exciting stories. A vampire crash-landed into her life, bodies piling up like warnings, and now that vampire was... You think too loud, Talia said behind her. Morgan didn't jump, but her shoulders tensed. Don't sneak up on me. You invited me in. You broke into my apartment. Details. Morgan turned to look at her. Talia was barefoot, wearing one of Morgan's t-shirts. How she'd gotten it, Morgan didn't know, and holding a mug of blood like it was morning coffee. "You're making yourself very comfortable," Morgan muttered. "I was comfortable the moment I met you." Don't what? Don't flirt with me." "I'm not flirting. I'm simply stating that I enjoy being near you." "Same thing." "Is it?" Talia leaned against the frame, head tilted. "Because if I wanted to flirt, you'd know. I'd take my time. I'd make you beg." "Jesus Christ," Morgan muttered. "Is that a request?" "Stop. Make me." Morgan took a breath and turned back to the street. "Why do you care about Calder?" "Because I made him. Because I failed him. Because he's a reminder that no matter how much control you think you have, all it takes is one slip to become a monster. So this is guilt. This is responsibility. Same thing." "You see the world in such clean lines," Talia said softly. "But nothing's ever that simple. Right and wrong is simple. Tell that to someone who's lived long enough to see how often they blur." Morgan looked at her. Really looked. For once, Talia wasn't smiling. And it made her feel exposed. Human. "What happened between you two?" "I turned him during the Great Fire. London. 1666. He was young. Kind. Curious. But the hunger twisted him. Some of us adapt. Some of us spiral. Calder spiraled. And you let him go?" "I tried to stop him. I failed." Morgan's voice dropped. How do you kill something you made?" "You don't," Talia said. "You bury it." Morgan shivered. The next day, they followed the bodies. A third murder. Then a fourth. Calder was leaving a trail. Not careless. Intentional. Like breadcrumbs made of blood. The victims had no connections, except proximity to Talia's usual haunts. Morgan paced the precinct's evidence room, pointing to a map covered in pins. "He's circling you. He's drawing us in. You think it's a trap?" "Of course it's a trap. Then let's spring it." Talia smiled. "Now you're talking like me." They set it up that night. An abandoned building in Old Town. Morgan played bait. Talia hid in the shadows. The idea was simple. Let Calder come to them, corner him, and end it. But nothing went as planned. The first thing Morgan noticed was the silence. Not the calm kind. The wrong kind. Too still. Too quiet. Like the world was holding its breath. "I don't like this," she whispered into her calm no response. "Talia?" "Nothing." She reached for her gun. Heard the creak of a floorboard. Spun and came face to face with Calder. He was taller than she expected. Pale like Talia but thinner. Eyes sunken. Mouth curved into something cruel. "You're not her," he said. "No. I'm the one who's going to stop you." "Bold," he said, stepping closer. "Foolish." Morgan fired. The bullet hit his chest and did nothing. "You'll need more than that," he hissed. He lunged. She dodged. Barely. His hand grazed her side, cold and fast and wrong. She stumbled. Recovered. Fired again. Missed. Then he was on her, pinning her against the wall. Teeth bared. Breath rancid. "She sent you to die for her," he growled. "You're nothing to her." Morgan slammed her knee into his gut. "That's so. She leaves everyone. It's what she does." "Funny," Morgan said, struggling. "She's still here." Calder's eyes narrowed, just before Talia hit him from behind. The force sent him flying. He crashed through a table, wood splintering around him. Talia stood over him, fangs out, eyes glowing. "You always were a disappointment," she said. Calder snarled. "You made me. And I've regretted it every century since." He lunged. They clashed. Fangs. Nails. Speed too fast for Morgan's eyes. She tried to get a shot but couldn't risk hitting Talia. Then Calder got the upper hand. Slammed her against the wall. Talia gasped. "Talia!" Morgan shouted. Calder turned. Big mistake. Because Morgan had closed the distance. Her knife, silver-tipped, courtesy of Talia, sank into his side. He screamed. Talia moved. Fast. Final. Her hand snapped his neck, and he crumpled. Not dead, but out. Nice stab, she panted. Nice distraction. They looked at each other.
Blood. Dust.
Silence. Is he dead? Morgan asked.
No.
But he's out long enough for me to seal him. Seal. Ritual. Binding. Long story. Morgan nodded. Then do it. Talia paused. You okay? Bruised. Maybe cracked a rib. Talia stepped closer, fingers gentle on Morgan's side. You're warm. You're freezing. We're opposites, Talia said, too softly.
Yeah.
Morgan met her eyes. And somehow, we keep ending up in the same place. Talia's hand didn't move. Neither did her gaze. I meant what I said. I won't let anything happen to you. Then stay. You really want that? I don't know what I want, Morgan whispered. But I don't want you gone. Talia leaned in, close enough to kiss. Say the word. Morgan hesitated. Then, not yet. Talia smiled. I can wait. Calder was gone by morning.
Bound.
Buried. A problem postponed. Not solved. Morgan sat on her couch, nursing a sore side and stronger drink. Talia sat on the floor, back against the wall. Quiet. Thank you, Morgan said finally. For what? Saving my life. Again. Shut up. You're welcome. Morgan looked at her. You don't have to stay. I want to.
Why?
Because I've been alone a long time, Talia said, voice low. And you make me want to remember who I was before the hunger. Morgan didn't know what to say to that. So she didn't. Instead, she leaned her head back, closed her eyes, and let the silence stretch. This wasn't over. Not with Calder. Not with the city. Not with whatever was blooming in her chest every time Talia looked at her like that. But for now, she wasn't alone. And maybe that was enough. Morgan Hayes never believed in monsters. That's what made her a good detective. The world was brutal enough without layering in myths and shadows. But then came Talia Crimson.
Fangs.
Silence. Immortality wrapped in sharp words and soft touches. Now Morgan sat in her apartment, bruised ribs wrapped tightly, gun on the table beside her, and a vampire sitting cross-legged on her floor eating an entire pint of blood-flavored gelato. You know, Morgan muttered, you could at least pretend to be normal. Why? Talia licked her spoon with mock elegance. You didn't fall for me when I was trying to blend in. I didn't fall for you at all. Not yet. Morgan rolled her eyes, but her stomach tightened. This wasn't new. Every time Talia looked at her with that strange affection, like she was trying to memorize her face for the end of the world, Morgan felt something. Not fear. Not suspicion. Something warmer. Wilder. More dangerous. What's the deal with Calder? She asked, needing a change of subject. You said he was sealed. Temporarily?
Yes.
The binding I used isn't permanent. It buys us time, nothing more. Time for what? To find the one who unsealed him. Morgan frowned. You think someone woke him up?
No.
I know someone did. Calder was buried deep. Magic strong. That kind of seal doesn't just break. Who would do that? Someone who wants chaos. Or revenge. Or both. Morgan ran a hand through her hair. This just keeps getting better. Talia stood, walking to the window. There's something you need to understand about my world. It's not like yours. There's no badge. No chain of command. Power is earned by fear and age and reputation. Calder was terrifying in his prime. Whoever woke him wants to burn the city from the inside. Why this city? Because I'm here. Morgan looked at her. This is about you? Isn't everything? You're really humble, huh? Talia turned, eyes sharp. This isn't ego. This is history. I left the courts. I refused to serve. I chose solitude. That makes me a threat. An insult to those who still play the game. And now they're playing with fire. Exactly. Morgan stood slowly, wincing from the pull in her ribs. Then we find them. We. You think I'm going to let you handle this alone? You should. Not happening. Talia stared at her. You really don't scare easily. And you really don't listen. She walked past Talia, pulling on her jacket. Let's go. Where? You said there were courts. That means politics. Enemies. Records. I want to see the underworld. Talia's smile turned slow. Dangerous. I was hoping you'd say that. The entrance was beneath a church. Of course it was. Morgan followed Talia through a rusted metal gate and downstairs that reeked of mildew and forgotten things. How do you even know this place exists? She asked. I was part of it. A long time ago. And now? Now I'm a legend. Or a disgrace. Depends who you ask. The underground space was massive. Stone columns, flickering lights, whispers that echoed without voices. Vampires moved like shadows, eyes flicking toward Morgan with suspicion. They know I'm human, she whispered. They can smell it, Talia replied. But they won't touch you. You're with me. That's supposed to comfort me?
No.
It's supposed to protect you. Morgan swallowed hard and kept walking. They reached a chamber where the air shifted, thicker, colder. A figure stepped forward, tall and wrapped in cloth like a funeral ghost. Talia crimson, the voice rasped. I expected you weeks ago. I was busy, Talia said.
Murder.
Betrayal. Romance. You brought a mortal. I brought a detective. Same thing. Not even close. Morgan stayed silent, watching, waiting. The figure turned its attention on her. She's brave. She's mine, Talia said too quickly. Morgan blinked. Talia didn't correct herself. You want information, the figure said. I want a name. And what will you trade? Talia hesitated, then pulled a silver ring from her pocket.
Old. Worn.
My title. You relinquish your place? I don't want it anymore. The figure took the ring, turning it between its fingers. Very well. It stepped back. A curtain parted. Behind it, a wall of names.
Carved. Marked.
Cursed. Talia stepped forward.
Read.
Then froze. It's her.
Who?
Morgan asked. Her name is Lysandra. She was my sister. Morgan's heart dropped. You had a sister? We were turned together, but we chose different paths. I wanted peace. She wanted power. She blamed me when I walked away. You think she woke Calder? I know she did. And if she's back, she won't stop with him. What does she want? Talia turned slowly.
Me. Dead.
They drove home in silence. Morgan kept glancing over, but Talia said nothing. Just stared out the window, still and cold. You okay? Morgan finally asked. I haven't spoken her name in over a century. She's family.
She was.
Now she's something else. I'm sorry. Don't be. You didn't cause this. Neither did you. Talia looked at her. That's where you're wrong. Morgan parked, turned to face her. You think you deserve this? I abandoned her, left her to the courts. She wanted to rule beside me. I walked away. Because you didn't want that life. Because I was afraid. Morgan reached for her hand. You still are. Of her?
No.
Of this. This.
Me. Us.
What's happening between us? Talia's hand tightened. You're not wrong. Then stop running. You're asking a lot. I'm offering more. The silence hung, hot and thick. Then Talia leaned in, slow, cautious, as if giving Morgan time to pull away. She didn't. Their lips met.
Soft.
Careful. Then deeper.
Fierce.
1,000 years of hunger crashing against a woman who kissed like she didn't know how to stop. When they pulled apart, Talia's voice was a whisper. That was a terrible idea. Yeah, Morgan said, breathless. Do it again. And Talia did. Until the world disappeared. The next morning, the city woke to screams. Another murder. Only this time, the body was left outside the precinct.
Drained.
Twisted. And on the wall, written in blood, for words, you can't protect her. The sun hadn't even risen fully when Morgan stood in front of the newest body. Pale skin. Lifeless eyes. 2 perfect puncture wounds in the neck. But it wasn't just another victim. It was a message. The corpse had been dropped on the steps of the precinct like a gift. Or a warning. Blood painted the wall above it in thick, deliberate strokes. For words. You can't protect her. Morgan didn't need a translator. She already knew who her was. Behind her, the buzz of the precinct blurred into white noise. Officers whispering, phones ringing, the hum of fluorescent lights. But all she could hear was her own pulse pounding in her ears. This was personal. It wasn't just about Calder anymore. It wasn't even just about Talia. This was war. And the enemy had her name. Back in her apartment, Talia stood barefoot in the kitchen, holding Morgan's mug like she'd always lived there. Like she belonged. "You're late," she said when Morgan slammed the door behind her. "We have a problem," Morgan growled. Talia turned. Her smile vanished the second she saw Morgan's face. "What happened?" Morgan tossed a file onto the counter. Photos slid out, crime scene shots.
The blood.
The message. Talia's eyes darkened. Lysandra. She's not just playing anymore. She never was. We were just too slow to see it. "So what now?" Morgan asked. "You want to run?" Talia's head snapped up.
Run.
"She's coming after you. After me. Don't pretend you don't see it." "I see it," Talia said coldly. "And I'm done hiding." She walked to the window, staring out at the city. Lysandra doesn't leave messages. She leaves graves. That was a declaration. She's telling us she's close. Then let's find her first. No, Talia turned to face her. Let me find her. Alone. This is my past, Morgan. This is our present. Talia hesitated, then nodded, slowly.
Fine.
Together. But if she touches you, she won't. Morgan cut in. I can take care of myself. I know, Talia murmured. But I don't want you to have to. The deeper they dug, the darker it got. Talia took Morgan to places she never thought she'd go. Hidden corridors beneath nightclubs, blood-soaked backrooms behind funeral homes, vampire enclaves where the air itself tasted like old secrets. Every name they chased led to the same one, Lysandra. She's building something, Talia muttered one night, pacing a cellar beneath a Gothic library. A following. She's always wanted control. Maybe she finally found her chance. But why now? Morgan asked. Why start this after all these years? Because I'm soft, Talia said bitterly. Because I fell in love with a human and she saw it. Morgan stiffened. You what? Talia froze. Realized what she'd said. Forget it. No, Morgan stepped forward. You don't get to throw that at me and walk away. Talia's voice was low. You want the truth? Always. I care about you, she said. Every word weighted. More than I should. More than I have in centuries. Morgan's heart pounded. Then say it. I don't know how. Morgan reached for her hand. Try. You're infuriating, Talia whispered.
Loud.
Stubborn. Too brave for your own good. She stepped closer, their faces inches apart. And you make me feel like I still have a soul. Morgan swallowed. Is that your version of love? It's the only one I have. She kissed her. This time, there was no hesitation. No pretense. Just heat and hunger, and a desperation that tasted like fear. Morgan pressed Talia back against the stone wall, fingers in her hair, heart racing. You don't get to vanish again, she whispered. Not after this. Then hold on. Days passed. Tension climbed. And then the first officer died. Detective James Phelps. Found in his car. Neck torn open. No blood left. Another message. This time, the body wasn't for Morgan. It was for the department. You let monsters walk free, the note read. Now you pay. Chief Rowland called Morgan into his office. Close the door. What the hell is happening? It's complicated, she said. Make it simple. There's something out there. Someone. She's dangerous. She? Her name's Lysandra. And what'd she want? Morgan hesitated. She wants Talia. The woman you arrested? She's not,
Morgan stopped. Took a breath.
She's not the enemy. No, Roland said grimly. But now the enemy's inside our house. He slid a folder toward her. This is from Internal Affairs. They're opening a file. Your relationship with Talia is my business. Not when people are dying. I'm trying to stop it. Then you'd better start moving faster. That night, Talia sat on Morgan's balcony, staring at the moon. They're coming for me. Let them try, Morgan said, joining her.
You don't understand.
If the courts find out I've been consorting with a human. Consorting? You know what I mean. You make it sound scandalous. It is scandalous. They'll punish me. And you. Let them come, Morgan said again. I'm not afraid. You should be. You're here. I don't have to be. Talia looked at her. You're either the bravest or the most foolish woman I've ever met. Maybe both. Maybe that's why I love you. Silence.
Thick.
Electric. Morgan's breath caught. Say that again. You heard me. Say it anyway. Talia's voice broke slightly. I love you. Morgan smiled. Good. Because I'm not letting you go. But love didn't stop bullets. Or blood. Or the explosion that rocked the safe house at 3 a.m. Morgan and Talia had barely made it out. Half the building collapsed. Someone had planted the bomb. A human, not a vampire. Meaning one thing, Lysandra wasn't working alone anymore. She had allies. Talia sat in the ash-dusted grass outside the burning wreckage, staring at the flames. She's moving faster than I thought. We'll stop her, Morgan said, bruised and breathless. Not if she keeps pulling humans into it. This isn't a vampire war anymore. Then what is it? Talia looked at her. It's a reckoning. In the shadows, a woman watched. Eyes silver bright. Smile curved like a knife. Let her run, Lysandra whispered. Let her fall in love. Her voice echoed with something cold. Ancient. And then I'll tear it all down. The safe house was gone. Reduced to rubble and smoke. The heat from the explosion still clung to Morgan's skin hours later, as if the fire had marked her in more ways than she could see. They had nowhere to go. No more places to hide. Talia's world had found them. And now it wasn't just clawing at the door, it was burning the whole damn house down. We can't stay in the city, Morgan said as she drove. Her voice was low, tight, the only thing holding back the shaking in her hands. They know where we've been. They know what we are to each other. And what is that, exactly? Talia asked softly. Morgan didn't look at her. I don't have a word for it yet, but it's real. Talia exhaled like she'd been holding her breath for centuries. There's a place, she said finally, outside the city. Neutral ground. Sanctuary. Like Vampire Switzerland? Something like that. And they'll let you in? They'll let you in, Talia said, eyes dark. Because you're with me. And I've bled enough for that to mean something. Morgan didn't argue. She just drove faster. They arrived just before dawn. The place was hidden in a forest where the mist clung to the trees like old memories. A crumbling estate, overgrown and beautiful in a way that made Morgan feel like she'd walked into someone's forgotten dream. The gates opened without a word. No guards. No questions. Just the silent acknowledgement of who and what Talia was. Inside, the halls were cold. Stone and shadow. Every wall bore symbols Morgan couldn't read. Magic that felt alive. Watching. Stay close to me, Talia said. Always, Morgan whispered. Their room was small. 2 beds, but neither of them even pretended. Morgan dropped her duffel and turned to face her. You okay? Talia nodded. Are you? Not even a little. Good. That means you're still human. Morgan stepped closer. This place gives me the creeps. It should. And yet I feel safer with you here than I did in my own damn apartment. That's because you're starting to trust me. Morgan raised a brow. Starting. You let me kiss you, Talia said, voice low. Twice. You kissed me, Morgan countered. And you didn't stop me. Silence stretched between them, thick, hot, inevitable. Talia reached out slowly, fingers brushing Morgan's cheek. You smell like fear and fire. You smell like temptation, Morgan whispered. That's because I am temptation. Then give me a reason not to give in. Talia didn't answer with words. She answered with her mouth. The kiss was nothing like before. It wasn't soft. It wasn't careful. It was teeth and breath and need. Morgan pulled Talia against her like she could anchor herself to bone. Talia kissed her like a woman who hadn't let herself feel in decades and was now starved for it. Morgan's jacket hit the floor. Then her shirt. Talia's hands trembled when they found skin, and that vulnerability undid Morgan more than any snark ever could. Are you sure? Morgan whispered. Talia's voice cracked. I've never been more sure of anything. They moved together like flame meeting fuel.
Fast.
Consuming. Unstoppable. When it was over, the silence was soft. Peaceful. Morgan lay tangled in the sheets, hair damp, skin flushed. Talia curled beside her, head resting just over Morgan's heart. You still smell like fire, she murmured. You still bite when you kiss. Old habits. I'm not complaining. Talia smiled against her skin. You're not what I expected. Neither are you. I thought humans were disposable. And I thought vampires were monsters. Maybe we're both wrong. Morgan closed her eyes. I hope so. By the time night fell, the sanctuary was no longer silent. A message had arrived, scrawled across the gates in red ash. Your sanctuary is a lie. Morgan read the words and felt her blood turn to ice. She knows we're here. She always knows, Talia said. She's not working alone. You said that already. No, Talia said, voice tighter now. You don't understand. This, the message, the ash, the spell used to summon it. It's vampire blood and human ink. So someone inside your department is helping her. Morgan staggered back. No, yes. Who? We'll find out. We have to go back. Not yet. We can't stay here. You'll be safer here than anywhere else. That didn't stop her from sending this. She's not trying to kill you, Morgan. Oh, good. Then what is she trying to do? Talia hesitated. She's trying to break you. Why? Because if she can't kill me, she'll kill the thing that makes me feel again. Morgan stared at her. You think I'm that thing? I know you are. Something inside Morgan twisted. Not in fear, but in recognition. She reached for Talia's hand. Then we don't break. Not now. Not ever. Talia's fingers curled around hers. If you stay with me, there's no going back. Good, Morgan said. I hate going backward. Then Talia pulled her in again, fast and desperate, and for one long second Morgan believed that maybe, just maybe, they could win this. But hope died quickly. 2 days later, a file was slipped under Morgan's door. No name, no note, just a photo inside. And in it, a man she knew, Lieutenant Harris, her mentor, her friend, smiling, shaking hands with a woman she'd never seen, a woman with silver eyes. Lysandra, Talia breathed. Morgan collapsed into a chair. He's working with her. He's the leak. Why? Why would he? Power, Talia said coldly. He wants more than the badge gives him. And Lysandra, she knows how to promise. Then she's inside. Morgan's stomach dropped. She's inside my precinct. You know what that means. Yeah, Morgan whispered. We're out of time. Morgan didn't sleep that night. She couldn't. The photo of Harris, smiling, relaxed, shaking hands with Lysandra like she was just another bureaucrat instead of a centuries-old predator, burned behind her eyes every time she blinked. Betrayal was supposed to hurt, but not like this. She sat at the edge of the bed, bare feet on cold wood, staring down at her gun. It felt heavier than usual. You're not going to shoot him, Talia said from the corner. Not a question. Just a certainty. Aren't I? No, she said, unfolding herself from the shadows, crossing the room with her usual quiet grace. Because that's not who you are. Morgan laughed, short and bitter. You think you know who I am? Talia stopped in front of her. I think I'm starting to. Then you should know how many times I've trusted the wrong people. And yet here you are, trusting me. Morgan looked up sharply. Should I not? Talia didn't flinch. You shouldn't trust any vampire. Especially not one who wants you. That's what makes you dangerous?
No.
That's what makes me weak. Morgan stood, eyes locked with hers. I don't want you to be strong if strong means shutting me out. I can't protect you if I'm not. Then maybe I don't want to be protected. Maybe I just want to be with you. Even if I'm cursed? You're not cursed, Talia. You're hunted. There's a difference. Not to Lysandra. Then screw Lysandra. Morgan stepped closer, pressing her hand over Talia's chest. What's beating in here?
I want that.
I want you, not the myth, not the monster, the woman. Talia's voice caught in her throat. Morgan, tell me I'm wrong. Talia kissed her instead. Hard, like an apology and a promise at once. And Morgan kissed her back like she had nothing left to lose. The drive back into the city was tense. Talia was silent, watching the skyline darken. Morgan's fingers gripped the steering wheel hard enough to leave marks. You really think Harris is the only one? She asked finally.
No.
But he's the most dangerous. Because he has access? Because he has you. He doesn't. Not anymore, Talia said, voice tight. But he used to. And he knows how you think. Morgan didn't argue. That was the problem. They didn't go to the precinct. Not directly. Instead, they parked 2 blocks away, moving through the back alleys like thieves. Talia wore a hoodie, sunglasses, her hair tied back. She looked almost human. Almost. He won't be alone, Talia murmured. She wouldn't risk him without backup. Then we catch them both. You're thinking like a predator. I'm thinking like someone who's sick of running. The plan was simple. Get into Morgan's office. Grab what she could. Check her files. Confront Harris if he was there. What wasn't simple was the knot tightening in her stomach as they entered through the back. You sure about this? Talia whispered. No, Morgan said. But I'm doing it anyway. The station was eerily quiet. Too quiet for a Tuesday. No chatter. No phones. Just that hum of overhead lights that made Morgan's skin crawl. Something's wrong, Talia said. Morgan reached for her gun. Stay behind me. They moved fast. Efficient. Up the back stairs, past the armory, to her office. The door was ajar. Morgan stopped, raised her gun, pushed it open with her foot. Empty. Except for the folder on her desk. Her name written across it in red ink. She stepped forward. Opened it. Inside. Photos of her. Dozens. On patrol. At home. In bed. Some with Talia. Some alone. Surveillance. Stalking. Her blood ran cold. She's been watching me, she whispered. For weeks. Longer, Talia said. This started before you met me. But why? Why me? Because I care about you. That's not enough. It is to her. Morgan slammed the folder shut. She wants me afraid. Are you? No, good. They turned to leave and walked straight into Harris. He was alone, arms crossed, gun holstered. Hayes, he said, voice casual. Working late? Morgan didn't lower her weapon. Get out of my office. Now that's no way to talk to your superior. Not anymore. So it's true, he said, glancing at Talia. You're really sleeping with the corpse. Talia didn't move, but the air shifted. Cold. Deadly. Say that again, she murmured. Touch a nerve. Say it again, and I'll rip your spine out through your teeth. Enough, Morgan snapped. We know you're working with her. Harris raised a brow. Define working. Don't play dumb. She offered me a better deal. That's not illegal. It's treason. It's survival. The world's changing, Hayes. You think you're on the right side, but there is no right side anymore. There's just power. And you gave her mine, Morgan said. All those photos. You gave her my life. You gave it to her the second you let that leach into your bed. Talia moved. So fast Morgan almost didn't see it. 1 second she was at Morgan's side. The next, she had Harris pinned to the wall, her hand around his throat. I should kill you, she hissed. Do it, Harris spat. Prove me right. Morgan placed a hand on Talia's shoulder. Don't. He sold you out. And if you kill him, you give her leverage. Talia trembled with restraint, then dropped him. Harris coughed, clutching his throat. You'll regret this. No, Morgan said, stepping forward. You will. She punched him. Hard. Broke his nose. Left him on the floor bleeding. You're suspended. Indefinitely. And when this is over, you're going to prison. If you're still alive, he sneered. Talia growled. Morgan turned away. Let's go. Outside, the night air felt too thin. Too quiet. That was reckless, Talia said. So is loving you, Morgan replied. And yet here we are. I could have killed him. But you didn't. Because you stopped me. Because you let me. Talia looked at her. You're dangerous, Morgan Hayes. You should see me in love. Talia smirked. I think I am. Then hold on. Because this ride's not over. They didn't kiss. Not this time. There was too much fire. Too much fury. But when they got back to the car, Talia pressed her forehead to Morgan's and whispered, I'm not going anywhere. Morgan closed her eyes. Don't. Please. Never. Across town, Lysandra watched it all unfold. Her fingers traced the edge of the photo Harris had delivered days earlier. Morgan. Sleeping. Peaceful. Breakable. Soon, she whispered. Soon I'll show her what it really means to love a vampire. Her eyes gleamed silver in the dark. And what it costs. Morgan hadn't spoken in 42 minutes. Talia counted. Not out of impatience, but out of instinct, like some part of her ancient mind needed to track something to stop herself from unraveling. 42 minutes since they left the precinct. 42 minutes of silence except for the engine and the occasional thunder roll across the sky. You're angry, Talia finally said. Morgan didn't answer. Or scared, she added. Still no reply. Both. I trusted him, Morgan said finally, voice tight. I would have died for that man. I almost did, more than once. And now I wish I had a second chance to put my fist through his face. You did a good job with the first one. It wasn't enough. Talia glanced over. Morgan's knuckles were white on the wheel, her jaw set hard. You think I'm reckless, Morgan muttered. I think you're real, Talia said. And real people bleed. They grieve. They rage. They love. The word hung between them like smoke. You keep saying that, Morgan said. Like you mean it. I do. Then stop looking at me like I'm a weakness. You're not a weakness, Talia said without hesitation. You're the only reason I haven't lost control. Yet. Talia looked away. That's the problem, isn't it? Morgan whispered. You think love is temporary, disposable. You think I'll break, or betray you, or die. Everyone does, eventually. Then I'll be the first who doesn't. Silence. Heavy.
Raw.
Then Morgan whispered. Promise me something. Anything. If I go down, you don't follow. No, Talia. No, she said, fierce and cold. You don't get to ask that. You don't get to make this easier for me. If you fall, I burn the world to bring you back. Morgan swallowed hard. Okay. And for the first time all night, Morgan smiled.
Just barely.
Just enough. They didn't go home. Home wasn't safe anymore. Instead, Talia led them to an old church she used to know. Hollowed out. Abandoned. But not empty. Magic lingered in the stones. Protection spells. Old as kingdoms. How many of these places do you have? Morgan asked as they lit candles around the room. Enough to stay alive. You always plan that far ahead? No, Talia said, glancing at her. I started planning the day I met you. That earned her a look. A long one. You're impossible, Morgan murmured. You're obsessed with me. I'm protective. You're in love with me. Maybe, Talia whispered. Maybe I always was. The candles flickered. Thunder rumbled again. Morgan turned away before Talia could see her face soften. They were sorting through intel when the door creaked open. Morgan grabbed her gun. Talia didn't move. Her eyes narrowed. Her whole body stilled. I know that scent, she said. The figure stepped out of the shadows, cloaked, hooded. But Talia knew. She always knew. Caleb. The name hit the air like a ghost. Morgan froze. Who the hell is Caleb? My sire's brother, Talia said. He vanished 100 years ago. Everyone thought he was dead. Everyone was wrong, the man said. His voice was dry as winter, soft as velvet. I've been waiting for the right time. To do what? Morgan asked. To make a choice. Caleb removed his hood. He was handsome. Sharp cheekbones, hair like coal dust, eyes like glass. But his aura was colder than anything Morgan had ever felt. Lysandra reached out to me 2 months ago, he said. Offered me power. Title. Territory. Let me guess, Talia said. You said no. I said I'd think about it. And now? Now I see what she's afraid of. He looked at Morgan. You. Me? She's not afraid of Talia. She knows Talia.
Knows how she fights.
How she bleeds. But you're new. You're unpredictable. You make her hesitate. I didn't do anything.
Exactly.
And she doesn't know what you will do. Why are you here? Talia asked.
To help, Caleb said.
To warn.
To fight.
I don't care who wins. I care who survives. And I think it should be you.
Why?
Morgan asked. Because you're in love, he said simply. And that's rare. In our kind. In your kind. It's the only thing that's ever made anything worth saving. Morgan lowered her gun slowly. So, what's the plan? Caleb smiled. We kill her before she kills you. That's vague. You like plans? I like not dying. Then stay close, he said. And watch your shadows. She's closer than you think. They slept in shifts. Talia barely closed her eyes. Morgan sat beside her, watching the storm outside the stained glass. Do you believe him? She asked. I don't know. That's not like you. A lot of things haven't been like me since you showed up. That's a compliment, right? Maybe. You ever trust anyone before me? A few. Did they betray you? Most of them. Do you think I will? No, why not? Because you'd rather die than disappoint yourself. Morgan smiled faintly. That's accurate. It's also beautiful. You're sentimental for someone who drinks blood. I don't drink just anyone's blood. Don't even start, Morgan muttered, blushing. Talia leaned in. I wasn't going to say yours. Yet. Oh my God. But the offer stands. They were laughing, actually laughing when the window shattered. A silver arrow embedded in the stone an inch from Talia's face. The spell etched into its shaft hissed. Get down, Morgan shouted. A second arrow flew, this time through the open door. Caleb snarled. They've found us.
How?
Someone followed me. You said this was neutral ground. Nothing's neutral anymore, Talia said. Morgan grabbed her gun, eyes scanning the shadows. How many? 4, maybe 5, Caleb said. They're fast. Professional. Vampires. And human mercs. Lysandra's blending armies, Talia hissed. She's getting ready for war. No, Morgan said. She started it. She dove behind the altar, took aim, fired. One scream. One body dropped. Another arrow grazed her arm. Talia tore through the side door, tackling one attacker into the pews. Caleb fought with brutal efficiency, silent, methodical. But they kept coming. More shadows. More arrows. More blood. Morgan was out of bullets when a blade pressed to her throat.
Cold. Sharp.
Move and she dies, a woman's voice said.
Hi.
Familiar. Morgan went still. Lysandra. Hello, little detective, Lysandra purred, stepping from the dark. She was more terrifying than Morgan expected, not because she was monstrous, but because she was beautiful.
Calm.
Deliberate. I've heard so much about you. Wish I could say the same. Liar, Lysandra said sweetly. She talks about you all the time. Talia burst in, bloody, breathless, furious. Let her go. Or what? Or I end you. You already tried that, sister. Remember? Lysandra pressed the blade closer to Morgan's neck. This one's stronger than I thought. Clever, too. You always did fall for clever girls, didn't you? Talia's voice broke. Don't do this. I'm not going to kill her, Lysandra said. Not yet. She leaned down, lips brushing Morgan's ear. But I will make her bleed. And then she vanished. Like smoke and wind. The blade clattered to the floor. Morgan gasped. Talia ran to her, checking her neck, her wrists, her pulse. Are you hurt? I'm fine. You're shaking. I'm fine, Morgan said again. But next time, I'm going to shoot her myself. Talia didn't laugh. She just held her.
Tight. Fierce.
And Morgan let her. Morgan sat on the floor of the church, her back against the cold stone wall, blood drying on her sleeve, heartbeat still echoing in her ears like war drums. Talia hadn't let go of her since the moment Lysandra vanished. She crouched beside her now, hands trembling slightly as she brushed Morgan's hair back, eyes scanning every inch of her like she was trying to memorize her face in case she disappeared. I said I'm fine, Morgan repeated. You almost died, Talia said, voice too calm to be honest. Almost doesn't count. It does to me. Morgan looked at her, eyes narrowed. Why does she keep letting me live? Because it hurts me more than killing you would. You're sure of that? Absolutely. So, I'm a weakness. No, Talia said, firm now. You're mine. Morgan blinked.
Wow.
That's possessive. And accurate. Not arguing. You shouldn't. I haven't felt this much fear in 200 years. Fear or love?
Both.
They live in the same place. That explains a lot. You're shaking. You're not. I'm shaking on the inside, Talia whispered. You're making me feel things I buried centuries ago, Morgan. And I'm terrified of what that means. Good, Morgan said. Because I feel the same. For a moment, neither of them breathed. Then Morgan leaned forward and kissed her, slow and deep and full of everything she hadn't said out loud yet. Talia melted into it like she'd been waiting all her life for that exact second. When they finally pulled apart, Morgan touched her forehead to Talia's. We have to finish this before she finishes us. Then we need more than just us, Talia said. We need allies.
And fast.
Caleb, standing in the shadows near the broken window, cleared his throat. I might know a few. They followed Caleb to an old crypt beneath the city, one even Talia didn't recognize. It smelled like dust and fire, and something else Morgan couldn't name, but her instincts recoiled from. This place is cursed, she muttered. No, Caleb said. It's sacred. To those who don't fear death. Inside were 4 figures waiting. Vampires, all of them. One tall and silver-haired with a jagged scar down her neck. One with eyes the color of rusted metal and a broken smile. One with burns across half his face and teeth too sharp for any disguise. And the last, a small woman, almost childlike, who sat cross-legged on a stone altar like a queen in exile. They call me Mara, she said. And I've been waiting for you. Do I want to ask why? Morgan muttered. Because you're the one she wants to break, Mara said simply. And breaking you would send Talia back into the dark. We can't allow that. Why do you care what happens to Talia? Because I remember who she was before Lysandra turned cold. She was light once. And you, Mara added, eyes flicking to Morgan. Remind her what that felt like. We don't fight for you. We fight for her. I'll take it, Morgan said. We're out of options. Then let's talk strategy, Caleb said. Because if we're going to survive the next few days, we need to make her bleed. Back at the church, Morgan studied maps of the city, pins and threads marking movement, attacks, disappearances. She's cornering us, she said, driving us into the open. That's what predators do, Talia said. Force the prey into a kill zone. Then we don't let her. We pick the battlefield. Where? Morgan pointed to a warehouse near the river. Empty, isolated, and wired with power lines. We can turn it into a trap. You sure? No, Morgan admitted. But it's time we stopped reacting and started hitting back. They prepared through the night. Mara's crew brought weapons, enchanted blades, blood wards, sigils older than memory. Morgan loaded her guns in silence, mind steady, jaw clenched. Talia watched her like she was afraid looking away would make her disappear. If this goes wrong, Talia began. It won't. But if it does, then we burn together, Morgan said. No one dies alone. Talia nodded once. Then let's go. The trap was beautiful, dangerous. A circle of power lines feeding into the building's frame. Spells carved into the concrete. Hidden weapons. Crossfire points. And at its center, Morgan standing like bait. She waited. 1 hour. Then 2. Talia watched from the rafters, heart thudding even though it hadn't beat in centuries. Mara's crew lay in shadows, weapons ready. Caleb stood by the breaker switch, his finger hovering over the trigger. And then movement. 4 figures. Then 6. Then more. Shadows unfolding like wings. Lysandra arrived last. She walked into the warehouse like she owned it, wearing black like mourning and smiling like a god. You're brave, she said to Morgan. Or stupid. Why not both? You're alone. Am I? Lysandra's eyes flicked up. To Talia. To the shadows. Ah, she said. You brought friends. No, Morgan said. I brought justice. Lysandra laughed. You think this is about right and wrong? This is about evolution. Then let's see which one of us survives. Morgan stepped back. Caleb flipped the breaker. Light exploded. Energy surged. Screams echoed. Chaos. The trap worked, at first. 2 vampires incinerated instantly. The others faltered. Morgan fired. Talia launched from above, landing like fury incarnate. Mara's crew fought like wolves. But Lysandra was faster, smarter, stronger. She moved through the trap like smoke, cut through spells like paper, and reached Morgan in seconds. Talia screamed her name. But it was too late. Lysandra grabbed Morgan by the throat, lifting her off the ground. You should have run, she hissed. You should have begged. Morgan choked out. Not my style. Talia struck. Blade through Lysandra's back. The vampire queen shrieked, dropping Morgan. Blood spilled. Dark. Ancient. Furious. You dare, Lysandra roared. Yes, Talia snarled. I love her. The words rang like a bell through fire and fury. And for a moment, everything stopped. Even Lysandra blinked. Then I'll make you watch her die. She lunged again, but Morgan was ready. She raised the blade Caleb had given her. The one forged in ash and silver. She plunged it straight into Lysandra's heart. Silence. Stillness. Then Lysandra gasped. And crumbled. Into smoke. Into nothing. Gone. Morgan collapsed. Talia caught her. Held her. Cried, really cried for the first time in a century. I thought I lost you, she whispered. You almost did. You're bleeding. Not anymore. Let me. Just hold me. Forever, Talia said. And Morgan believed her. But war never ends in one battle. Outside, the city groaned. Somewhere, a shadow stirred. And in the silence that followed victory, new threats began to whisper. Morgan didn't sleep. Not because of fear, not anymore. She was past fear. Past adrenaline. Past the numbness that followed near death. She was simply awake, wired to every flicker of movement, every sound outside the boarded church windows, every shift in Talia's breath as the vampire lay beside her in a rare moment of stillness. The warehouse battle should have felt like a victory. Lysandra was gone. Her lieutenants destroyed. The city, temporarily, safe. And yet the world didn't feel quieter. It felt heavier. Colder. Like something had been ripped out of the night, and now there was a hollow space aching to be filled. She's not the last, Talia murmured into the dark, reading Morgan's thoughts like they were painted on the walls. Someone will come for her throne. That's what happens when you kill royalty. Let them come, Morgan said. I'm done waiting to be hunted. You're tired. I'm angry. That's worse. I don't care. You should.
Why?
Because it changes you, Talia said quietly. I've seen it. Anger can keep you alive, but it doesn't keep you human. Morgan turned toward her, studying the face she now knew better than her own reflection. Do you regret it? What? Loving me. Talia blinked slowly, then reached out to trace a thumb over Morgan's bruised cheek. Not for a second. Do you regret loving a monster? You're not a monster. I've killed more people than you've met. You've saved more than you admit. You make excuses for me.
No.
I see the woman under the weight of all the years. And if that woman breaks, then I'll hold her together. Talia closed her eyes. I don't deserve you. Maybe not, Morgan whispered, but you have me anyway. The silence that followed wasn't cold. It was sacred, like the hush before a storm, or the breath before a kiss. Caleb's gone, Talia said after a while. He left a note. Morgan sat up. What does it say? That the balance is shifting. That other courts are watching. That our names are spreading.
Good.
Let them remember what happens when they push too far. You're talking like one of us. Maybe I am.
Careful. Why?
Because the more you walk in our world, the harder it is to walk out. Morgan stood, stretching sore limbs. Then maybe I stop pretending this world isn't mine too. Talia stared at her. You're not serious. I am. You're human. For now. Don't joke. I'm not. You'd give up your life? I almost lost it already. 3 times. And for what? A badge? A system that didn't protect me? That couldn't stop what happened. That's not fair. It's true. So, what, you want to be turned? Morgan hesitated. I don't know, but I'm not afraid of it. You should be.
Why?
Because it's forever. Because it's lonely. Even with someone beside you. Immortality is not a gift, Morgan. It's a weight, a hunger, a silence that never ends. And yet you stayed alive. Because I was looking for something to make the silence worth it. Did you find it? Talia's answer was a whisper against her lips. Yes. Morgan kissed her like that answer was enough to keep her alive. But somewhere in the church, a candle sputtered out. And outside, a low pulse echoed through the shadows. Something old. Something waking. The city moved on after Lysandra's fall. People returned to the illusion of safety. Crimes returned to being mundane. Reports stopped mentioning bite marks. But Morgan knew better. There was always another monster. Always another secret bleeding under the surface. You're restless, Talia said one night as Morgan stood by the window, watching the street below. I can't go back to patrols. To pretending things are normal. You don't have to pretend. No, Morgan said. But I have to choose. Choose what? Who I want to be. And what I'm willing to lose to become her. Don't lose yourself, Talia said. Not for this. What if I already have? Then let me help you find your way back. You're the reason I'm lost. And the reason you survived. Morgan smiled. God, you're annoying. You love that about me. I really do. They kissed again, slower this time, like the world wasn't ending, just changing. And that maybe, just maybe, they could change with it. Later that night, as the church lay quiet, a new message arrived, burned into the side of a dead man's neck, left on the police steps. A sigil neither of them recognized. But Talia's face paled the second she saw it. What is it? Morgan asked. That's not from a court, Talia said. It's older. Before the bloodlines. Before the houses. How old? Pre-fall. You're scaring me. Good, Talia said. Be scared. Because whatever left that mark doesn't want territory. It wants annihilation. Of what? Of everything. Morgan stared at the body. Then we fight. Morgan, we fight. Or we die. It won't be like before. It never is. We need allies. Again. Start calling them.
Who?
Everyone who owes you a favor. Talia sighed. That's going to be a very long night. Then we start now. Morgan looked at her. And we do it together. Talia nodded slowly. Always. And for the first time in weeks, they didn't feel like prey. They felt like fire. The body with the sigil was already cold when Morgan and Talia arrived at the morgue. The fluorescent lights flickered, casting a pale yellow haze over the man's still face. He looked peaceful. That was the worst part. No pain, no fear. Just absence. He was a courier, the coroner said. Private firm. Hired yesterday. No priors. No known affiliations. So why him? Morgan asked. Wrong place, wrong time, Talia muttered. Or maybe he saw something, touched something. She leaned in, eyes fixed on the symbol etched into the skin just above the man's collarbone. It was unlike anything Morgan had seen before. Not glyphs. Not runes. Older. Simpler. And yet it made her stomach twist, like something inside her recognized it on a level she couldn't explain. What does it mean? Morgan asked. Talia hesitated. It means someone is remembering. And that's the most dangerous thing of all. They left the morgue in silence, the weight of that symbol pressing against Morgan's ribs like a stone. Outside, the night air was colder than usual. Not the kind of cold that came with wind or rain, but the kind that came from something being wrong with the world. Talk to me, Morgan said as they walked. What aren't you telling me? Talia looked straight ahead. There are stories older than vampires. Creatures who came before the split between light and dark. They weren't bound by rules or blood. They just were. Raw hunger. Chaos given form. They didn't die. They were sealed away. And now something is opening the door. You said the symbol was pre-fall. Yes. So, this isn't just about vampires.
No.
This is about the origin of death itself. Morgan stopped walking. You're serious. I wish I wasn't. How do we fight something like that? With everything we have. And maybe not win. That's not good enough. Then we change the rules. They returned to the church and found Mara already waiting, eyes sharp and serious for the first time since they'd met. I know what that mark is, she said before either could speak. It's from a sect that predates even the First Blood courts. They were worshippers of entropy, believers in silence. They called themselves the Hallowed. Sounds charming, Morgan muttered. They believed that immortality was a sin, that life, in all forms, was a mistake. And they've been trying to correct that mistake for centuries. Why now? Because you tore down the balance. You killed Lysandra. You exposed the cracks. So, we just leave the system broken? No, Mara said. We rebuild it. Stronger. Smarter. Together.
How?
Morgan asked. We form our own house. The words echoed in the stone walls like thunder. Are you insane? Talia snapped. That's a declaration of war. No, Mara said. It's a declaration of defiance. If we don't unify, they'll pick us off one by one. But if we stand together, human and vampire, bound by choice, not blood, we might have a chance. We're not politicians, Morgan said. We're soldiers. Then fight like it. Talia stared at her for a long time. Then slowly, she looked at Morgan. Would you stand with me? Always. Even if it means becoming one of us? Silence. The moment stretched. Morgan's heart pounded in her chest, her body suddenly aware of every breath, every pulse. I don't know, she said finally, but I'll never leave your side. Talia nodded once. Then that's enough for now. Over the next 2 nights, they gathered those who would listen. Vampires without allegiance. Hunters who'd lost faith in their orders. Witches who walked between worlds. Caleb returned with a scar on his neck and fury in his eyes. The Hallowed are moving, he said. And they've taken one of ours. Who? Talia asked. Jace. The name hit like a slap. Talia's face went pale. Morgan felt her chest tighten. Who was he? She asked. Someone I saved once, Talia said. He believed in me when no one else did. Then we get him back. They tracked the Hollowed to an abandoned train depot on the outskirts of the city. The building was dead quiet, the windows blacked out, the air thick with wrongness. I don't like this, Morgan muttered. You're not supposed to, Mara said. That's how they work. They make you doubt, make you hesitate, and then they take everything. Inside, the walls were covered in symbols.
Blood, ash, bone.
Morgan held her gun tighter. This feels like a trap. It is, Caleb said. But we don't have time to care. They found Jace in the center of the room, tied to a steel chair, eyes open but empty. He's alive, Talia breathed. For now. Careful, Mara warned. They might be watching. I don't care. Talia rushed forward, tearing through the bindings, whispering his name. Morgan watched from the shadows, gun ready, heart pounding. And then the screaming started. Jace convulsed, his back arching, mouth open in a soundless wail. Black veins spread across his face like cracks in ice. Get back, Mara shouted. He's marked. But it was too late. A pulse exploded from his chest, knocking them all to the floor. Lights shattered. The air turned to glass. And from the darkness, a voice spoke.
Low. Hungry.
Ancient. We see you, Talia Crimson. We see what you've built. And we will unmake it. Morgan crawled to her knees, eyes wide. Who are you? We are the end. And you are already bleeding. Then silence. Jace collapsed unconscious. The room was in ruins. The sigils burned away. Talia held her breath, then looked at Morgan. They know who we are. Good, Morgan said, standing. Let them remember our names before we burn them out of history. You're reckless. I'm ready. You're scared. I'm with you. Talia stared at her like she was seeing her for the first time. Then there's one last thing we have to do. What? Make it official. Make it real. Form the house.
How?
With blood. Mine. Ours. Morgan swallowed hard. What happens if I say yes? You stop being a cop. You stop being just human. You become legend. And if I say no? I fight alone. And maybe lose everything. Morgan reached out. Then cut me. Are you sure? I'm sure of you. Talia took her hand, drew a blade, pressed it to Morgan's palm. And when the blood fell, hers followed. They mixed. Power surged. Light cracked through the stones. And in that moment, the first human vampire house in history was born. A house not of blood, but of choice. And the Hollowed felt it. Far away, in their temples of ash, they stirred. And screamed. The night after the blood pact, everything changed. It wasn't a sharp shift, more like a low, constant hum beneath Morgan's skin. A new awareness. Every heartbeat echoed louder. Every flicker of movement registered like static. She wasn't a vampire. Not yet. But she wasn't fully human anymore either. Something in between. Something dangerous. Talia watched her closely, silently, like she was seeing a new star form in the sky and wasn't sure if it would bring light or fire. Say it, Morgan muttered as she adjusted her holster, checking the modified bullets, half silver, half sigil marked. Say what? Talia asked. That I'm changing. You are. And you're afraid. Not of you, Talia said. Of what they'll do when they realize what you are. Then let them come. They already are. That same night, 7 bodies were found across the city. All drained. All marked. The Hollowed weren't hiding anymore. They were making a statement. Mara slammed her fist on the table during the strategy meeting. They're accelerating. That was meant for us. A message. They want panic. And blood. Then we give them both, Caleb said with a grin. Except we make them choke on it. We need to send a message back, Morgan said. One they'll never forget.
How?
We take the fight to them. Tonight. That's suicide, Mara snapped.
No.
That's war. Talia looked at Morgan like she was trying not to fall harder than she already had. You really were born for this. No, Morgan said. I was forged in it. They hit the Hollow's Nest just after midnight, a burned-out cathedral on the edge of the city where the wards had long faded and something darker had taken root. Talia, Morgan, Mara, Caleb, and 2 witches from the allied coven moved like ghosts through the graveyard, weapons drawn, sigils glowing faintly under their sleeves. No turning back after this, Mara whispered. Good, Morgan said. I'm done turning. The first scream echoed as they crossed the threshold. Not theirs. One of the hollowed. The trap worked. The witches lit the wards with fire and ash. Caleb moved like a machine, cutting down shadows before they could form into bodies. Mara chanted under her breath, her voice vibrating through the stones. Talia was pure rage and grace, her blades flashing in the dark like twin stars. And Morgan fought like she'd been waiting her whole life to bleed for something that mattered. She moved with terrifying precision, her gun an extension of her will. And when her bullets ran out, she didn't hesitate. She drew her blade and kept going. They found one of the Hollow's high priests deep beneath the altar, sitting cross-legged on a throne of bone. His eyes were hollow. His voice was a whisper of rot. You've already lost, he said as Talia held her blade to his throat. The door is open. Then we close it, Morgan said. You can't, he hissed. Not without giving up what you've become. Morgan stepped forward, fire in her eyes. Then I give up nothing. I become more. She shot him, once in the chest, once in the head, and as his body turned to ash, a pulse rippled through the ground. The walls cracked. The altar split. A scream, ancient, furious, filled the space. We need to go, Caleb shouted. But Morgan wasn't moving. She was frozen, staring at the symbol beneath the priest's body. It was the same as before, but this time it was glowing. And it was inside her head. Burning. Morgan. Talia grabbed her, pulling her back just as the floor caved in. They rolled into the corridor, dust and stone raining around them. Morgan gasped, clutching her chest. Her eyes burned silver for a split second. What was that? Talia demanded. I saw something. What? A place.
A door.
So much screaming. We're not done, Talia said. That was just a sliver. Then we find the door and burn it down. They regrouped at the church, bruised but alive.
Barely.
We rattled their bones, Mara said. But we didn't stop them. Then we hit them again, Morgan said. Every night until they beg for mercy. They don't know mercy, Talia said. Then we teach them fear. Morgan sat alone later, her body aching, her skin buzzing with a strange energy she couldn't name. Talia approached quietly, knelt beside her. You should rest. Can't. You're shaking. I can feel them. Like they're inside me now. They marked you.
No.
They recognized me. And they're afraid. Then we use that. What if I become something else, Talia? Something I can't control? Then I'll still stand beside you. Even if the world runs. Morgan looked at her. You say that like you mean it. I do. Then don't let go. Never. Morgan leaned in, forehead pressed to Talia's. If I fall, you won't. If I do, then I'll fall with you. And for the first time since the blood pact, Morgan let herself close her eyes. Just for a moment. Just long enough to breathe. Outside, the wind howled. And deep in the earth, something stirred. But Morgan Hayes didn't tremble. She smiled. Because war had knocked. And she was finally ready to open the door. Morgan stood at the edge of the crater where the altar had collapsed, boots pressed into fractured stone, her breath curling into the early morning air. The city was quiet behind her, but not peaceful, more like a creature holding its breath. Talia stood beside her, arms crossed, staring down into the darkness with that ancient stillness that Morgan had come to know meant fear. This is where it begins, Morgan said. No, Talia replied softly. This is where it ends. If we do this right. Do you believe that? I have to. Mara joined them, cloak dusted with ash, face drawn tight. The witches confirmed what we feared. The sigil connects to a ley line running through this part of the city. It's old, buried, but something's been feeding off it, twisting it. The hollowed? Morgan asked. Or whatever they serve. You mean the thing behind the door? Yes, Mara said. The entity. The source. It has a name, Talia added. I've heard it whispered once, centuries ago, in a tongue that no longer exists. It translates roughly to the first silence. Creepy, Morgan muttered.
Accurate, Mara said.
It wants to unmake everything, to return the world to its original state, dark, empty, still. Then why now? Morgan asked. Because you broke the old balance, Mara answered. Lysandra held the line, even if for the wrong reasons. With her gone, the scales tipped. So I started this. No, Talia said firmly. You exposed what was already rotting. That's not the same thing. Morgan exhaled slowly. What do we do? We close the door, Mara said. Seal it from both sides. One of us anchors the magic from here. The other must enter. Enter? The space between, Talia explained. Where the entity waits. It's not a place. It's a threshold. And once you go through, you may not come back, Mara said. Then I'm going, Morgan said. Talia immediately stepped in front of her. Absolutely not. You can't stop me. It's suicide. It's necessary. We'll find another way. There isn't one. I won't let you sacrifice yourself. You don't get to decide. I do when it's you. Morgan's voice dropped. Talia, I was chosen for this. That mark, that connection, it wasn't a curse. It was a signal. It recognized me, not as a target, as the answer. I don't care. You do. That's why I have to be the one. Talia's eyes burned. Then I'm going with you. You can't. Watch me. Talia, no. If you go through that door, I go with you. You might not come back. Then I won't come back. But I won't lose you to that silence. Not without standing in it with you. Mara stepped back, giving them space. Morgan reached out, fingers brushing Talia's cheek. Why are you like this? Because I love you. Morgan kissed her, hard and desperate and trembling, because this felt like the last kiss they'd ever have. Then she pulled back, eyes shining. Then we go together. The ritual began at dusk. Mara's witches formed the circle. Caleb stood at the edge, blade drawn, eyes grim. The wind picked up, howling through the broken stone like a scream rising from the ground itself. The sigil glowed. The crater pulsed. And then the doorway began to open. Not with light, but with absence. A wound in the air. A tear in the fabric of reality. Now, Mara shouted. Morgan took Talia's hand. Together, they stepped into the void. It was nothing. And everything. Silence, so loud it rang in their bones. A place with no color, no time, no rules. The door behind them vanished. There was no ground, and yet they stood. No sky, and yet they breathed. The first silence was not a creature. It was a presence. A hunger without shape. A thought that unmade other thoughts. And it saw them. Why have you come? The voice asked. It wasn't sound. It was feeling. A pressure behind the eyes. To stop you, Morgan said. You are already mine. No, she said. I choose differently. You carry my mark. And I reject it. The presence shifted. Cold flooded her lungs. Talia grabbed her hand tighter. Leave her alone, she snarled. You are bound, it said to Talia. You should understand. Nothing lives forever. That's not the point, Talia hissed. It's what we do while we're alive that matters. I offer peace. You offer emptiness, Morgan said. We don't want your silence. Then you will scream. The pressure intensified. Visions flooded Morgan's mind. Everyone she'd ever lost, every failure, every regret. Talia dropped to her knees, fangs bared, eyes glowing, fighting the pull. Morgan focused on the only thing that mattered, the heartbeat she still felt in her chest, the love she still carried, the fire. You forgot one thing, she whispered. I'm not alone. She turned to Talia, leaned down, pressed their foreheads together. You and me. No matter what. Talia's voice trembled. Always. Light erupted from their joined hands. Real light. Made of will. Of resistance. Of everything the entity couldn't comprehend. The void screamed. Not in pain. In fear. And the door began to close. Morgan felt her body stretch, burn, split. Part of her wanted to stay, to dissolve, to give in. But Talia's grip kept her tethered. And when the seals snapped shut, they were thrown back into the world like sparks from an explosion. The circle was broken. The crater gone. Only the earth remained, quiet, still, whole. Morgan coughed, rolling onto her side, gasping. Talia, she rasped. Here. Talia croaked beside her. Still here. Mara rushed to them, eyes wide. You did it. The ley line's clean. It's over. No, Morgan whispered. It's beginning. And in the distance, the city exhaled. The days after the sealing were the strangest of Morgan's life. There were no sirens, no frantic calls over the radio, no bodies with cryptic markings turning up in alleyways. The hollowed were gone, or at least scattered. The air felt different. Not safer exactly, but stable. Like the city had been holding a breath for decades and finally exhaled. Morgan stood on the rooftop of the old church, now more fortress than refuge, watching the sun rise over rooftops that had once hidden nightmares. Her palm still bore the faint scar where blood had mixed with Talia's. It pulsed sometimes, like it remembered. She didn't know what it made her. Not fully human. Not fully anything. But she didn't feel broken anymore. She felt forged. You're up early, Talia said, stepping beside her, black coat fluttering in the wind. I never went to sleep. Same. They stood in silence, shoulder to shoulder, the weight of everything that had happened pressing between them, but not in a way that hurt anymore. People are asking what happens next, Morgan said. Mara wants to hold a gathering. She means a summit, Talia corrected. She wants us to lead. That's what scares me.
Why?
Because I'm not a queen. I'm a cop who broke every rule to save a city that doesn't even know it was dying. Then be a queen who remembers what it felt like to bleed. Morgan looked at her. What about you? You've lived in shadows your whole life. You ready to step into the light? Talia's smile was quiet. With you? Always. Word spread fast. Across covens, bloodlines, fractured courts. Whispers of a new house. A human turned more. A vampire who loved without chains. A ceiling between worlds. Some came out of curiosity. Some out of fear. Others with open threats dressed in political flattery. But all of them came. The summit was held in the ruins of a theater, neutral ground, stripped of enchantments and old allegiances. Talia stood on stage beside Morgan, arms crossed, gaze unflinching. Morgan wore black, same as always, but now it felt more like armor than uniform. The room was a storm of scent and sound, vampires old enough to remember empires, witches bound to stone and forest, mortals who'd stared into the dark and hadn't blinked. Mara opened the floor. We are not here to crown queens, she said. We are here to acknowledge what cannot be denied. That a cop and a traitor tore a hole in the world. One voice sneered from the back. Laughter rippled. Morgan stepped forward.
No.
That two women risked everything to stop something none of you even knew was waking. Silence. You can hate how we did it. You can fear what it means. But you can't ignore that we did it. You all felt it. The silence is sealed. The blood is calm. And if you want that to last, you need to let go of old rules. What rules are you offering? Someone asked.
None, Morgan said.
That's the point. This house wasn't built on bloodlines. It was built on choice. Choice, Talia echoed. Loyalty. Balance. Not dominance. You expect us to bow? A vampire lord asked. No, Morgan said. We expect you to stand beside us. Or stand down. It was a challenge, a threat, an invitation, and it echoed like thunder through that broken theater. After a long moment, one by one, they stood. Not all, not most, but enough. Mara met Morgan's eyes and gave the smallest of nods. Talia reached for her hand. You did it, she whispered. We did. That night, back in the church, the city quiet again, Morgan poured a glass of whiskey and sat beside Talia on the edge of the bed. So, what are we now? She asked. Talia tilted her head. What do you mean? Are we leaders? Legends? Freaks? Talia smiled. We're a story people will tell when they need to remember that the impossible is still possible. Morgan laughed softly. Great. No pressure. I think we deserve a day off. A day. Maybe a week. Morgan leaned in, brushing her lips over Talia's. You're insatiable. You love that about me. I really, really do. Their kiss was slow this time. Not born of fear or desperation. Just want, need, warmth. Morgan let herself sink into it, finally feeling safe in something that had started as chaos and become something unshakable. Outside, the stars turned. Inside, two women tangled in shadows and fire and found something like peace. But even peace has echoes. And far beneath the earth, something forgotten stirred. Not dark, not violent. Just watching. Waiting. The storm didn't come with thunder. It came with stillness. A pause in the wind. A shiver in the magic that ran through the city like a hidden river. Morgan felt it before she opened her eyes. A tremor, deep in the scar on her palm, like the echo of a pulse not her own. Talia was already awake beside her, sitting at the window, dressed in black silk and silence. Her eyes were distant, the way they got when she sensed something ancient moving. You feel it too, Morgan said. Talia nodded once. It's not hollowed, not hostile, but old. Older than the first silence.
No.
But closer. What does that mean? Talia turned, her face unreadable. It means something is watching, and it's ready to speak. The summons arrived by morning, a slip of parchment that wasn't delivered, but simply appeared on the floor of the church. Its words weren't written in ink, but in light. Morgan picked it up and felt her spine stiffen. It wants to meet. Where? The garden. Talia exhaled. Of course. You know it. It's not a place. It's a memory. A myth. The first place where blood met magic. The last place where choices meant more than power. And you've been there? Once. And you survived? Barely. Then I guess it's my turn. They found it not on a map, but by following instinct. The streets turned unfamiliar. The sky dimmed, but never darkened. The garden existed between heartbeats, nestled in a fold of the world no GPS could find. It looked like a ruin, wild vines, crumbling stone, water running uphill. But it felt like truth. At the center stood a figure. Not man, not woman, not human, made of time,
Of soil.
of blood and sky. Their voice was a song without melody. You closed the door. Yes, Morgan said. You forged a house with choice. We did. You bound love to fire, blood to will. Yes. Then the question remains. What question? Do you want to stay? Morgan blinked. What? You changed the story, the entity said. You burned the rules. But fire, too, must rest. You may remain here, outside time, rule forever. Or you may return to the world, knowing your thread will one day end. You're offering us immortality? Talia asked. Not as predator, not as beast, as balance. Eternal guardians. And if we say no, you return. You age.
You die.
But you live free. Morgan looked at Talia. What do you want? Talia's eyes shimmered. I've lived too long already, but never with purpose. Never with you. Morgan swallowed. I don't want to be a god. I just want to grow old holding your hand. Talia laughed softly. Then let's go home. The entity nodded. The garden dissolved, and they woke on the rooftop of the church, hand in hand, hearts racing. Nothing and everything had changed. The city was still there. The weight of power still buzzed in the air. But their choice had been made. The weeks that followed were quiet. The new house stabilized. Mara took over the day-to-day politics. Caleb returned to hunting, now with purpose, not vengeance. The covens offered respect. The vampire courts kept their distance. But everywhere Morgan and Talia walked, silence followed. Not out of fear, out of awe. And then one morning, Talia woke Morgan with a question. Do you remember that cafe where we first met? The one I arrested you outside of? Yes. What about it? I think we should get married there. Morgan stared. That wasn't a proposal. Wasn't it? You're ridiculous. You love that about me. I really, really do. The wedding was simple. No crowns. No ancient scrolls. Just a vampire in a black suit and a woman with a badge tucked in her pocket, standing beneath the awning of a cafe that once smelled like burnt espresso and blood. Mara officiated. Caleb cried. The city watched without knowing it was witnessing the birth of something sacred. And when Talia kissed her bride, the world tilted. Not into silence, but into music. Because some endings don't close doors. They open windows. Morgan never regretted the night she arrested a vampire. Because that night, she didn't lose control. She found her future. And in the end, it wasn't a badge or a bloodline that saved them. It was love. Unapologetic. Unbreakable. Unafraid.